Before the first stone was laid upon the great pyramids of the Nile, before the drums of Ife and the fires of Timbuktu, there was a land deep in the belly of Africa, where the trees whispered and the earth paused like a drum. This place was known as Aganaya, the land that remembers. It was not a kingdom or an empire, but a separate land hidden near the bend of the great Niger River, where the living and the dead danced in harmony and where the ancients never truly left. The people of Aganaya were keepers of memory. Every family had a grot, and every grot carried a stone called a nzuecho, white and warm to the touch. These stones were said to hold the voices of their ancestors. When held in silence beneath moonlight, they whisper stories lost to time. But even in paradise, darkness can creep. The most gifted growth in Aganaya was Ibikwe, a woman whose voice could make lions pause and wind hold its breath. Her chants were like honey and thunder wrapped into one. She had one daughter, Omalicha, a quiet child who preferred drawing on clay than singing songs. Many thought she would never carry the gift, but Ibikwe saw something different. She listens, Ibikwe would say. She hears the earth, not just the stories. When Ibikwe grew sick, the village gathered, for her voice was their memory. As her final day neared, she called for Omalicha. My daughter, she whispered, when I leave, go to the cave of echoes, past the 7 trees of life. There the ancients will speak to you and they will tell you who you are meant to be. Omalicha wept and nodded. That night, as stars blinked like fireflies, Ibikwe died with a smile. 3 days of mourning passed. On the 4th, Omalicha set out. She wore a simple wrapper, carried her mother's zuecho, and followed the old forest path marked with red stones. Birds called warnings, the trees swayed as if waving goodbye. After hours, she reached the 7 trees of life, enormous baobabs arranged in a perfect circle. Beyond them, shrouded in mist, was a cave mouth carved like a yawning skull. Inside it was dark and cold, but as he stepped in, the Nzu echo in her hand began to glow faintly. She followed the whispering, then she heard it. Not one voice, but many, deep, layered, rising and falling like a tide. Child of memory, you come to listen. Will you listen completely? She knelt and placed the stone on the ground. Yes, she whispered. Images exploded in her mind, flashes of ancient walls, councils of elders, forgotten songs, gods made of fire, women birthing stars, rivers carrying voices, kings buried, standing up. And then one final echo. You must awaken the buried, for darkness comes again. When Omalicha returned, she found Aganaya changed. The sky felt heavier, the wind carried no songs, and in the village square stood a man wrapped in red robes, his eyes glowing like coals. His name was Ngwele, and he claimed to be a priest from the northern lands. He brought gifts of cowries and salt, promises of trade and protection. But Omalicha sensed this. He was not a priest, but a vessel. Something ancient and hollow lived within him. Ngwele began building a stone ziggurat in the village center, claiming it was a shrine to the gods. But no prayers were allowed, only silence. He burned the griots. He called the Nzu stones tools of confusion. He offered gold in exchange for memory. Some resisted, they vanished. Even the elders fell quiet. Omalicha returned to the cave of echoes, seeking guidance. This time, the voices were louder, urgent. He is not a man. He is a scar from a war long forgotten, sealed beneath the river by the ancestors, now unsealed. He feeds on forgotten names. If the last griot is silenced, the echoes will die, and time will unravel. Terrified but resolute, Omalicha emerged with a plan. She would awaken the ancients, but to do so, she had to perform the rite of the 5th drum, a ritual that hadn't been done in 2,000 years. She needed 5 things: ashes of the first storyteller, blood from her own line, a name lost to time, the sound of a newborn's first cry, the silence of the earth at midnight. She gathered them all except the last one. The silence of the earth could only be taken from the heart of Adanaya, the very place Ngwele had defiled with his ziggurat. On the night of the black moon, she crept into the structure. It was colder than any cave, the air thick with decay. At the top stood Ngwele, waiting. I knew you'd come, he hissed. You are the last echo, and I am the eater of echoes. He lunged. Omalicha threw down her mother's Nzu echo, and it cracked open, releasing the full song of Ebekwe. The room trembled. Ancient symbols lit up on the walls. Ngwele screamed as the light burned through his false flesh, revealing a twisted creature beneath, black as oil, eyes of smoke, mouth of forgotten names. Omalicha struck her drum once. Everything froze. The silence fell. She had taken it, the final piece. Omalicha fled as the ziggurat collapsed, burying the eater beneath a mountain of stone. She returned to the sacred grove, and with all 5 pieces, performed the rite of the 5th drum. She beat once, the past opened. She beat twice, the dead rose. She beat thrice, time cracked. She beat 4, voices poured like rain. And on the 5th beat, the ancients spoke through her. Their stories, songs, warnings and wisdom flooded the land. The trees wept, the rivers laughed, the sky bent low to listen. The people of years passed. Omalicha never married, never aged. Some say she became spirit, others say she walks from village to village collecting echoes. She left behind a vault not of gold but of memory, songs, stories, names and truths, written into the trees and stones of Aganaya, and the people guard it well. They know that as long as one child remembers the song, as long as one drum echoes in the forest, as long as one griot speaks by firelight, the ancients are never truly done. So when the wind rustles your window, or a dream carries you to strange lands, listen closely, for it may not be wind at all, but the echoes of the ancients calling you to remember.